Okay, everyone. Good evening. This is Cryptilo here, and we're gonna bring some updates about the Bitcoin ETF and things that happened today that probably a lot of people don't understand the situation. What I'm showing to you guys right now, it's the Bybit. Bybit, it's a trading platform. They do long and shorts in a lot of coins, Bitcoin, everything. And you can set up yourself, or you can have a bot to do this, like a robot. And I believe today, I would say over 90% the trade is made in the platforms in the crypto space. It's a bot. It's a robot. So the bots normally they trigger by news. Okay, if you have, I think not just in the crypto but also in the market. If you have a good news, they have a tendency to place a lot of buy positions, and if they have like bad news, they have a tendency to put a lot of sell positions. As you can see here today, when somebody hacker the SEC tweet account or X account today and post first that the Bitcoin ETF was approval, so we got to pick all the way up to $48,000. However, say a few minutes ago, SEC Gary, I forgot his name, Chandler, I think. Yeah, show up and say like, no, this our three account was hacked, and we didn't have approval yet. Okay. So the last day is tomorrow, the 10th, and today I would assume actually this happened right after market close. Okay, so some of the stocks from crypto related, like I say, if you don't want to have a crypto and you don't want to buy a Bitcoin because they don't feel comfortable because of the volatility, you still be able to buy stock related. I showed you guys earlier in my video, and I probably even like I mentioned, because I have it here set up on my trading view. I'm gonna show you guys two the Binance, one of the largest the most big crypto exchange right now that is working, and the other one is gonna be the what's it called, the CME Group. Okay, so this is the Binance that I show you guys right now. So on Binance, of course, I have this set up on my indicator from the MACBOB that I'm using it as kind of like how things work. See, every time we have a red column over here for buy position or sell position, and at this top in the red is sell position. So as soon as the column firm, and I try to figure out the extension of the column. If it's as you can see right now, the buy it's higher than the sell. Okay, I mean it's longer. Sorry, higher now, longer, and we have a two buy positions. One around is between all the way down from 15, 16, 17, and the second one from 22 to around like 25. In the sell positions, we have on a 40,000 all the way up to 46,000. So I don't know how long this position's been here, but as you can see, like it's probably like. And I also in the morning on my video in the morning, I mentioned that I really don't like when Bitcoin has a tendency to side trade. See, they're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles, kind of never went after the 5th candle. Like the 6th candle actually kind of broke to the top, but then reached a big resistance, and kind of like right now it's trading at $45,000. So again, I believe, as I can show you guys back in the Bybit, that most of the traded, it's made by computers, robots, bots they call. So they are triggered by news. I mean, you can see like the thick on a candle, the wick, whatever they call that, from the top to the bottom. This is not healthy situation. So now we have to see the development for tomorrow, how things gonna be working. So I was working during the day, so I was on my job. I was so happy when I saw first the Bitcoin ETF was approval, but then comes up like the news saying there was a hack on the X or tweet account, whatever you want to call, and from SEC, and so right now we're gonna see like some of the videos that CNBC posted for what happened. Let me show you guys. Let's take a look. Let me add the video over here. And actually gotta go the other way out. Go this way. Oh, come on. Maybe faster than that. So I'm gonna start playing the video before I show to you guys. This first video, it's happening before the close in the market. So happening before the situation that was the hacker. Okay. So I'm gonna start play the video before.
Expectations rise for potential approval of the first spot Bitcoin ETF, with an SEC decision expected this week, as soon as tomorrow. Joining us now, Anthony Scaramucci. He's the founder and managing partner of Skybridge. Good to see you. Welcome back.
Thanks, Scott. Good to be here.
Is this going to happen?
Well, we have every indication to believe it would happen. I think you have to remember something about the SEC. If this wasn't going to happen, I think that would have been telegraphed into the market. I'm not saying they're as good as telegraphing things as the Federal Reserve, but they're pretty good at it. And so some of the big issuers that I've been in touch with believe it gets announced tomorrow, Wednesday, after the close, with potential trading Thursday or later in the week.
Yeah. You obviously have a dog in the fight because you were an early investor in BlackRock's product. Why'd you pick that one?
Well, at that time, they were having, Bitcoin was in the doldrums. It was a bear market. The team over there, they were looking for an outside investor. And so my partner, Brett Messing, I'm going to butcher Robbie's last name, but I think it's Metachek or Mitachek. If he's listening, I'm sorry for the butchering of your name. But my partner, Brett Messing, met with him.
Sounds like a close partnership.
Yeah, no, sorry about that, because I'm drawing a blank by the high altitude, Scott. But in any event, we put some money in there to help them get it started. And the good news is I think they caught the momentum, and listen, they've been almost perfect on their ETF application. So I do think that this goes through.
Do you, when you look at the players, I mean, we're showing the list right now, Anthony, on our wall back at our headquarters, and I obviously have them in front of me. It looks to me to be at least a dozen on this list. Is that too many? Are there going to be more? I mean, how should we judge the number of players who are trying to get a piece of this action?
It's a good question. So we stood down. We had an application in 2021. It got rejected alongside of Fidelity's application. And I think that the 12 of them will probably garner the market share. And those 12 will likely, once due diligence goes through at the wirehouses, Scott, they'll end up on the platforms. I think this is a seminal moment for Bitcoin because most investors didn't want to open up an account or store it on their own personal wallet. They would prefer to store it in a brokerage account, and the ETF allows them to do that. And so this is sort of a SEC-approved wrapper of Bitcoin. And I think it opens up a window of opportunity for the Wall Street, those 12 that you're referencing, to go out and market the idea to their best investors. How
much of the run-up in Bitcoin towards the end of the year, we mentioned the gains are incredible over the last 3 months alone, and it was, of course, the best performing asset class of last year. But more recently, let's just pick over the last 3 months per se. How much of the gain there do you think was due to the expectation of these ETFs? And then some now suggest that you could get a sell on the news. What do you think about that?
Well, look, it's very hard to predict this stuff. I've been humbled by price predictions in Bitcoin. So if there's a sell on the news, though, I'll be surprised because there feels like there's several $1 billion of market demand. And remember, those 12 issuers want this to get off to a strong start. And I do think they have pent up demand. But you're asking a good question about recent appreciation. Remember, Bitcoin peaked at 68 or 69,000 in November of 2021. Scott, when the Bitcoin futures was approved, and I would have thought Bitcoin would have gone way higher, but we had a horrific year in 2022 where I think it landed around 16 or 16,500. So it's been a humbling process, Bitcoin. We entered the space in 2020. We like it long term. We think Bitcoin could eventually be the same or up there with the market capitalization of gold. That may take a decade. But it's very, very promising. And the fact that the SEC is going to allow this in brokerage accounts, I think this is meaningful. And you and I both know Wall Street. Now that Wall Street's involved, they will sell this product to their best investors.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. What about the relationship with interest rates and Fed policy? If the Fed is done hiking and now rates are going to start coming down, you know, obviously Bitcoin appreciated a lot last year as rates were elevated. How does that relationship go forward from here, do you think?
Well, listen, I think more liquidity in the markets is better for Bitcoin. The people that are studying Bitcoin and doing the work on Bitcoin recognize it as a digital store of assets. They see it as a digital form of gold. And so if there's laxity in the interest rate cycle, that means there'll be more liquidity. And I think that will be better for Bitcoin. It'll find its way into more model portfolios. But I was interested in the debate you guys were having prior to the debate. I don't want to punch anybody in the face, but I do believe that you guys are going to be right on rates. If rates go lower, it's very hard to fight the stock market. I guess I'm just worried about the top heaviness of it. Anytime we've seen this level of concentration at the top, there's been sloppy forward markets.
We have more breaking news on the Bitcoin ETF stuff. Kate Rooney has those details. Kate.
Morgan, a bit of a twist here. The ETF decision, the SEC now saying that its Twitter and X account has been compromised. It has not made a decision yet on that Bitcoin ETF. We have a statement here from an SEC spokesperson saying that the SEC Gov Twitter/X account has been compromised. The unauthorized tweet regarding Bitcoin ETFs was not made by the SEC or its staff. Gary Gensler putting out a similar statement, the chair of the SEC there. But again, it does appear the SEC's account has been compromised and has not yet made a decision on a Bitcoin ETF. It has affected prices here, Morgan, as you guys were talking about. And Bitcoin, at least for now, is still moving to the downside on that, what was potential news, but a compromised account there. And it appears the SEC's Twitter account has been hacked. that news again, moving prices here. But back over to you guys.
But Gary Gensler's Twitter account, I suppose, has not been hacked so far as we know. The part to me that's weirdest about this, A, we're at a time when we expected the news to come through this account, but then we're hearing about the hack through the same platform where they apparently were hacked. Is there any kind of a press conference or statement outside of X that we can expect to hear on this?
So I should clarify, John, the statement that we got from the SEC was from an emailed SEC spokesperson here. So we have an emailed statement from the SEC clarifying what's going on Twitter and X. Although, again, Gary Gensler's account retweeting that and putting out a similar statement that, yes, that account has been hacked. But taking things away from X and Twitter for a second, we do have an official statement from a verified SEC spokesperson here over email that says we have not made a decision yet.
Okay, and so I'm just going to reiterate it one more time. It would appear that X has been hacked, that the U.S. government, the SEC, has not been hacked,
Right.
which in of itself would have been quite interesting since the SEC is also regulating all of these cybersecurity issues and hacks for public or private sector as well right now. But bottom line, this is not true. We don't have this. Focus on the SEC website, perhaps, rather than some of the social media platforms.
Exactly. No word yet. And right, it has been compromised. But again, as John mentioned, this was an afternoon in which we expected to potentially get some news around this, if not tomorrow. So it does come on a day when markets were very much pricing this in and expecting this news. So, yeah, absolutely. The timing here is suspicious. But we'll wait for the official SEC email at least. And we're making some calls on this, but we'll keep you posted.
All right, let's bring into the conversation Rick Heitzman, the founder and partner at Firstmark Capital. Rick, great to have you with us. Interesting news that's happened.
Yes.
You sort of, you are in that world, and I'm wondering, what your take is. Is it the fault of Twitter? Where would you go first?
I think it's too early to know, but I'd probably go to, it's usually people who make these mistakes. Yep. And is it the people at the SEC who had a fat finger mistake, or is it someone at Twitter, and are there rules? So I think the SEC has to go deeper on Twitter, especially as that organization's been generally gutted since it's gone private, and make sure that things that can affect the market, affect the political landscape, are handled properly.
For the companies that you are invested in, do they use Twitter as a way of disseminating market-moving information?
Constantly.
Okay,
So they announce earnings, they announce material hires, they announce all kinds of material things on Twitter. So that's really a place of record. And so if you're getting sold in M&A, which was the ultimate market-moving thing, you have to be locked down. So what does that mean? And I think it's probably even taken more seriously now than it did when Elon Musk was tweeting out, I'm going private at $4.20 a share. And, and now more seriously everyone takes it, the more important it is for us to safeguard it.
Does this make you rethink? I mean, if Twitter was the point of failure, does this make you rethink, as somebody who's an investor in a lot of these companies, this is not a good way. We got to think of something else.
Or we have to increase the accountability. So if this is this a safe and trusted place where you can disseminate information, where you can manage your profile, and is this the way you're going to talk to your parties and interests, your customers, your investors, your stakeholders, or does there have to be a better way that people will move off to a Discord or move off to another channel where they feel like that's a more safe, secure place?
So, Rick, I don't know if you remember this, but we met on the set of Fast Money in November of 2013. It was the week that Twitter went public. Okay,
yes.
And you came on. I guess the question was, what is the next
short
what is the next internet stock? Your hair was a little darker. The next internet. What was the next internet stock to go public? Okay, that was what we were talking about. It was on the set downstairs. All right, when you think about this, let's bookend this to where we are right now. Okay, because Twitter would be well below its IPO price from November of 2013 right now. As an early stage investor, what do you see in the consumer space? What do you see in the social media space? Because the only company that's really been successful, I think, the last 10 years has been TikTok, and TikTok has all the same concerns that we're talking about right now as it relates
security, misinformation,
and all that sort of stuff,
and maybe even more. So they're now asking for things like what's your unlock for your phone, and so there's many more backdoors in TikTok than anywhere else. The problem has been that the consumer experience hasn't evolved, right? So the things that you look at what your kids use for social media apps, it's still Snap, it's still Instagram, it's still all those communication and messaging, that it's all in the old framework. You need Discord has been the big winner and the big emergent power in social, but probably doesn't have the consumer scale or the name or brand recognition that some of the older players have. But hopefully this is what's the next version? Oh, next version is more secure. The next version is more trusted. The next version is how companies talk to investors in a safe and secure way. So a lot of these crises create opportunity for the emergent companies.
Who do you think would benefit? I mean, if people looked at Twitter and said, because of this, we understand now that Twitter may not be as secure as we believe, what is the alternative?
I don't think it's Threads. I mean, that's some people would say it's Threads. I think Threads is kind of DOA. I think you're going to move to, hey, could you have a Discord server? And that Discord server would have a lot more security around who joins the server, who's an administrator of the server, who's in and around it. And that has a whole bunch of different ways that people use Discord servers for commerce, for communication, for secure and private access, that companies could turn and say, I need to have a better one-on-one relationship with my stakeholders, with my investors, especially as I'm announcing material non-public information. So how do I do this, and will someone work with me to create that safe and secure place? And I think that's probably a big opportunity. So if anyone out there is doing that, I'd love to hear from you.
Let's get more on the SEC Bitcoin headlines that broke in just the past hour. SEC Chair Gary Gensler saying an earlier tweet from the agency that said Bitcoin ETFs had been approved. That tweet was unauthorized. For more on the implications, let's bring in Dmitry Alperovitch, Silverado Policy Accelerator's executive chairman and the co-founder of CrowdStrike. He joins us on the Fast Line. Dmitry, great to speak with you.
Thank you for having me.
When you take a look at what's gone on, what's your initial take? What are the questions that you initially ask?
Well, this is a really big deal because this is actually the first Twitter hack that I can remember, and there have been so many of them, that actually was really, really smart and that was able to move the markets by $22 billion, almost $23 billion in market cap for Bitcoin. So someone could have really cleaned up here. This wasn't just a prank, as we've seen in the past, where they're posting some scam or some message that is really irrelevant to the markets. This was clearly designed to make some money here. And I'm sure that companies like Chainalysis and other blockchain transaction investigative companies are tracking this right now, trying to figure out who could have possibly benefited from it.
But when it comes to figuring out who might have been behind this breach, this hack, where would you go first as a security expert?
Well, I would be looking at the transactions on the blockchains. And, of course, the great thing about the blockchain is that everything is recorded. So even though it's pseudonymous and you may not know exactly who's behind it right away, every transaction is available for you. So anyone that is placing bets on Bitcoin that it would go up right before this tweet, you want to look very carefully. And then anyone who's selling minutes into it is a potential someone who's potentially tied to this hack.
So basically you're saying that you would trace who made the most money off this trade, and therefore you'd find the person who probably funded the hack of whatever it may be, whether it be Twitter or the SEC itself?
That's certainly the first lead you want to investigate. It doesn't necessarily mean that that person is going to be responsible, but it's as good of a start as any.
From your standpoint, Dmitry, is this easy to do? I mean, you mentioned this is the first hack where you saw money actually being made. And we've seen other instances fairly recently, I think within the past year, for instance, of a AI-generated photo of the Pentagon in flames, and that actually moved the S&P 500. I mean, there are various examples here. You can actually quantify the dollar amount which which the Bitcoin market moved by, but there are other ways to move the markets as well. Is this easy to do in your view? I mean, if you're going to hire a hacker, can you do this?
It's certainly possible, but I can tell you, hacking an account of a major organization like the SEC is generally not easy. Many of them will have what's known as multi-factor authentication enabled, which means that you don't just need their password, you also need a one-time code that would be generated. And, one thing that I'm really curious about here is that there's been another profile hack just on Friday of a major cybersecurity company that's usually also very good on security. So one of the questions I have right now is this a hack of SEC or their Twitter account, or is this potentially a problem with the X itself, the platform, where someone may have been able to get to the back end and reset passwords and gain access to a number of accounts? So it could be much broader than just this one organization that was compromised here.
So are you trying to link the two potentially? That, I mean, cybersecurity, you're only as strong as your weakest link, right? And so if you hire a cybersecurity company or any other company to do work for you, and there's a backdoor into that company, they then have a backdoor into yours. Are you saying that hack of the cybersecurity company on Friday could have contributed to this in some way?
No. What I'm saying is that someone could have hacked X or Twitter itself and gained access to the accounts of both. So the fact that these are happening within days of each other is really, really suspicious. And we know that in the past, people have been able to get access to Twitter accounts by compromising the organization or social engineering employees within it or even bribing them. So it's happened before. We know that, of course, Elon has fired so many people inside the company. We don't know how many people are left inside their security teams. So it's quite possible that the issue is on that side.
Is it your impression that Twitter's security is porous?
Well, it's been poor for quite some time, for many years, and I find it hard to believe that after firing more than half of the employee base, it's gotten any better.
Okay, so we saw all the videos that CNBC plays afterwards on an app, and from before whatever happens to afterwards. The last guy was security guy, kind of like saying that very suspicious what happened with the hackers from some other account before. So the two graphics that you guys gonna see is okay. Oh, sorry. The top is the Binance. The bottom is the CME Group. The Binance that we're looking at in the weekly chart, and the CME Group January 24. We're looking at the bottom. So right now the CME is a future contract that traded 46.25, and the Binance traded 45.800. So now I'm gonna bring to you guys another web page. This is like the CME Group web page when you see the settlement for the contracts and the January contracts. So at the price of $45,000, we have the prior open interest was 126 contracts of, I don't know how much even is this much money. The bid and ask. The bid was 4,400. Ask is 3,000. So they are like $200 negative for this contract at $45,000 on the call side. Okay. Now on the put side, they're still below 45 because the price is above $45,000. I don't know how much that work over here, but it's 27 contracts. So what happened? The price hit it at $48,000, which we have like 33 calls at 48, and he had like 3 open positions at the 48,000, and hit it like the 44,000, which we have 40 contracts at 40,000, and 22 with the volume of 2 and a 44,000. We don't have no volume on the call side. We have some volume on the put side. So I really probably like that's the reason they hit it all the way down to 44. So of course as I took a picture show my other video early in the morning. I see it before. Some of the contracts and a $55,000. Actually, $50,000. Would it be 255? Now it's only show 103 with the 6 contracts. I still believe that this is just a manipulation. Somebody made a lot of money, and hopefully tomorrow everything comes up clear. The final decision comes up, and we have everything that we needed to be clarified. So other than that, thank you for watching this video.